and welcome back to Hot Springs High School shop, temporary shop. I'm doing my oral book report on a book by Michael Bungay Stainer called Say Less, Do More, The Coaching Habits. A couple of things that I've noticed right off of the bat from this article or book is that Michael does a nice job of making the text very easy to read, easy to understand, and very practical to put into our daily lives, not only just in teaching but also dealing with co-workers and admin, and it can be a very helpful tactics. I've also noticed that I'm the king of asking people what's on their mind, probably to a fault. I've actually had friends that have become very annoyed with me for asking them that question too frequently. So that's actually kind of interesting to me. So just to kind of go through a couple of things, Michael states some statistics right off the bat that I think is very common in any form of education, but it states that fewer than 1 in 4 who have had coaching training felt as though they had not benefited from that training. And I think a lot of that can be personality, our view of our workplace, but also I think it comes down to how complicated the text is, or how complicated the information could be, how it relates to us personally. So with this book from Michael, like I said earlier, that it was very practical and easy to use. I think that is probably part of why it's so successful. It's very simple, but yet almost profound in today's world. We have a large population of experts in many different fields, and I'm not saying that is a bad thing, but it can be very confusing to the common person to imply or to use in their daily lives or in their classroom or in different forms of coaching. With his strategy being very simple, there's certain things that it's not hard to remember. It's easy to say to any student. Doesn't matter what their background is, doesn't matter any of that. It's just a very easy conversation starter and to build a relationship. And I think that's probably a large part of what we do as teachers, is building a relationship so that we can impact any student in a positive way, or teach them. I feel that any student is going to have a hard time learning from you if they don't first have somewhat of a relationship for you or with you, or a certain amount of respect for you, to be able to teach them anything about life, or anything about what trade or skill or academic lesson that you happen to be teaching. So a couple things of why he also said that those other trainings had failed is there's too many rules and it's just too complex. It can become very overwhelmed, and I think many people do become very overwhelmed in a leadership setting or a coaching setting or a teaching setting, because we feel the weight of each student personally for their success. And obviously, if you've taught long enough, you'll find that you can't be held responsible for every decision a student makes. Now, that's not to say that we don't make our best effort to try to impact that child or person in any way that we can, but there are limits to certain people, and we have to be realistic about that. And that's been a very difficult thing for me also to overcome, along with also becoming overwhelmed, is not only do we want the student to succeed, but we also want our administration to be happy with the product that we're putting out, which is the knowledge that we can pass along. So we become very overwhelmed with students who in today's world I think are a lot more distracted, especially in a setting like school where we're competing with video games and a lot of different instant gratification standpoints of as far as how life operates today. And I think it can be very difficult for us to bridge that gap. um, not impossible, but definitely difficult. So uh, with his information, he started here with a couple of different things for us to kind of get started, and one of them being a kickstart question. So this is the question that I've gotten myself in trouble with my own friends and peers. What's on your mind? And I think this is a wonderful question, and I couldn't agree more with Michael about this. The what's on your mind question is a great way to open a conversation with somebody that is harder for you to relate with. And also a great question for somebody that you do relate well with. It's just a wonderful question to try to open their mind up to what are they thinking about, and if we had a conversation about what you're thinking about, could I benefit you in any way? It's just a wonderful way to start a conversation that maybe a child or a student or admin or whoever have been wanting to say, or wanting to get off their chest, or wanting to talk to you about. It's a great way to open that conversation in a healthy manner to allow them to give some insight. Along with that, the next is the awe question, and it literally is an awe. It spells it out. And what else? So with high school and middle school age, this can be a more difficult task for them to get much deeper than simply what's on your mind. But this is a nice way to try to dig a little bit more and figure out exactly, what are your expectations for yourself? What are your expectations for this class? What are your expectations for school? Along with what are your expectations for your adult life? So it's very simple, but very, very powerful. The focus question. So this would be, where's the real challenge for you? Another wonderful question is, it narrows the issue down to what's going on, what seems to be giving you a hard time in my class, what's giving you grief outside of my class, what's causing you not to perform the way that I believe that you should be able to. The foundation question. So this is what do you want, rather than what do you feel, what do you think, what's bothering you. What do you want from me as a teacher? What do you want from your your peers? What do you want from this class? What do you want from the school? What do you want? This can be also a fairly dangerous question with high school, middle school, because there has to be some realistic expectations, and I think it can benefit everybody involved in that conversation. The foundation, or I'm sorry, let's go on to the next one here. The next one is the lazy question. So this is how can I help, and this is more of getting that person in the conversation to give their side of options for you. So rather than me trying to put all the pieces of the puzzle together to figure out how I can do everything in my power, this gives me an open look at, hopefully, into your mind as to what I can do to benefit you, which can be very helpful when you are talking to adolescents, and you may be way off of what you expected or thought you could do to help them. It may be something completely different, as far as just a simple reminder or any something on the whiteboard that just helps to remind them. But it's a wonderful question to take some of that burden off of you as the leader or coach or teacher, and put it onto the person to give you other options. And a lot of times, if 1 to 2 or 3 students are feeling that way, typically more than that are also. So that can be a nice way for me to also reflect and see where I could make a few changes if I have some blind spots as to what I'm not doing correctly, or I can kind of refocus. And especially teaching a lesson or going over different tools or pieces of machinery, that can be a wonderful thing for me to have that reminder. So the strategic question. So this is a good one also, because it reminds that person that you're having that conversation with is that with any give is some take. So we have to be able to give and take. We can't everybody have exactly what they prefer to have, but with some give and some take, hopefully the majority can end up taking what they would like out of their time here. So as far as Michael Stainer's book, I was very impressed. I agree with 90% of it, and I also feel like I've been practicing these things unknowingly, just to continue conversation with my students. So I did enjoy it. So.